I saw that you had a comment out this morning about some broadcasting on the Tucker Carlson program on Fox.
We agree with the chief of Capitol Police and the rage of bipartisan lawmakers. You heard them all yesterday. You guys reported on it, who have condemned this false depiction of the unprecedented violent attack on our Constitution and the rule of law, which cost police officers their lives. And that's what we saw on that day, on a very dark day, an attack on our democracy.
All right, guys. So as you just saw there, the Biden administration and the mainstream liberal media continuing to lie about January 6th, okay? They keep telling people that police officers died or were murdered by January 6th protesters that day, which is just completely false, right? But they keep pushing this narrative that police officers died because of January 6th, okay? They don't really have much evidence to back up that claim, but they keep saying that, while also outraging about Tucker Carlson pushing his fiery but mostly peaceful narrative about what happened on January 6th. Again, it's like the pot kettle and the kettle black, okay? They're upset that Tucker Carlson is telling another side of the story, right? A side of the story about January 6th that makes the January 6th protesters, especially ones that were getting tours and wandering around the Capitol, not actually committing acts of violence, but going to jail and doing prison time for it, actually makes people seem kind of sympathetic, right? That, you know, hey, there's a travesty of justice going on here, right? The people that claim to be against an unjust system, clearly saying that a system is unfairly treating a lot of these people who happen to be white, okay, and straight white men as well too, right? They say this never happens, okay? They say the justice system is always lenient on the straight white man. Doesn't seem like they're very lenient on these straight white men, right, that just happen to wander into the Capitol. Okay, I'm just saying, because you know what they said? They said that if the Capitol attack was done by a bunch of black folks, they were all been shot and killed on the spot, even though we know for a fact that it's not true, considering how there was an attack on the Capitol during the BLM protest, right? Except it was an attack on the whole city of Washington, D.C., and a lot of those people did not do nearly as much jail time for committing actual acts of violence as people that simply just took a tour of the Capitol, okay? And calling it a tour is not an exaggeration, because we literally have video of police officers giving people tours of the Capitol. You can't make this stuff up, right? And transparency apparently is dangerous to democracy, because they know that transparency is going to sway people's opinions, particularly the independent's opinion, okay? People on the left already have their minds made up about what they think about January 6th. It was the worst attack in history since 9/11 or the Civil War, depending on who you ask. And then people on the right already have their mind made up, right, for the most part about it. It was a psyop, okay? It was a government operation. It was a setup. The FBI involved. It was Antifa. Yeah, a lot of people have their minds made up. But the people that you're trying to convince are the people that's in the middle, the independents, the Joe Rogan types, okay, who, you know, are going to see this footage from Tucker Carlson and start to ask questions about the initial narrative that we was told about what happened on January 6th and the justification for locking some of these individuals up, right, giving them hard time for what we thought were committing violent acts, but they really weren't. And I actually want to play Joe Rogan's reaction to Tucker Carlson and his Bombshell January 6th footage, because I think Joe Rogan does represent how the independent voter is going to see Tucker Carlson's revelations, and why transparency is so important, and why Democrats and the mainstream liberal media is melting down so much over what is just simply just transparency coming from Tucker Carlson. Take a look.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Speaking of which, did you see the new video of the fucking QAnon shaman being led through the Capitol building by police?
No. What happened there?
You know, there's the story of the violent insurrection.
Oh, yeah, of
That's
course.
the narrative,
It
right?
was, I mean,
By the way, let's just be real clear. You shouldn't break into the Capitol building. You shouldn't be trying to overthrow the government. You shouldn't be trying to get out there and say that the election was false when you don't exactly know. You're just buying into it, and then you all invade the Capitol. Wasn't good. Wasn't a good look for America. Wasn't good for any of the people there. Nothing was good about January 6th. Let's be real clear. But when you watch the video of that guy being led around through the Capitol building by police. They're basically giving him like a tour. They're talking to him and hanging out with him. At one point in time, it's him, and there's like 6 police officers around him, and they're not arresting him. They're not throwing him to the ground. There's no violence at all. Like, I don't think what that guy did was good. I don't think what any of those people did was good. It wasn't smart to barge into the Capitol and take pictures of your feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. It's stupid. It's a crime. But they were leading him around. Like, the cops were talking to him and hanging out with him. They weren't like arresting him immediately. It wasn't like he was this violent guy who broke in and started smashing things.
They stayed between the velvet ropes.
Watch the video.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video?
No, I have not seen the video.
See if you can find it, because Tucker Carlson highlighted it on his television show, and now everybody's up in arms because it's coming from Tucker. But it should be coming from the New York Times too. It should be coming from everybody. It's just, this is video footage of this guy. And it's a thing that's different than what we're being told it is. We're being told that they barged in, and they overtook the Capitol, locked them up, put him in jail. When you see the people taking him around, essentially on a tour, that's not what I thought it was.
I just hope all the conservatives watching this realize how little appetite there is in the Republican Party for defending people like this. And thinking that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump care about this is a delusion.
It's not even defending them. It's just, forget about it. Let's look at what actually happened. We didn't know that happened.
Right.
We had a version of it where it was just chaos and the cops ran away.
And the cops were murdered.
Yeah. I would have never imagined that this.
I'm shocked to see that, to be honest.
That's so wild.
And like to your point that it's not a bigger story, that it's fucking Tucker who's covering this.
It's just broken. And I think people are starting to pay attention to it now.
I don't think it's broken. I think it's by design. I think it's It's by design. It's not an accident.
No, I mean, it just broke. I mean, like.
Oh, yeah. Okay, story just broke
got out in the
yeah.
world. I think it's really recent. And so I think people are just starting to recognize that it's not what you thought it was. It's not good to get in. It's not good, but they did, clearly. You want to peacefully protest, you do it outside. You don't ever go into the fucking Capitol building. If someone smashes his door, don't enter behind it.
I don't see how not having him under house arrest wouldn't be infinitely preferable to putting him in jail, which is cheaper. Stay in your house.
They're putting him in jail for 4 years.
Yeah, like what? Who's that? He's not violent.
For going on a tour.
There's no concern that he's going to kill someone or assault a club.
Yeah. He pled guilty. Of course he did.
Of course he pled down.
If he doesn't plead guilty, they give him 25 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was guilty. He was there.
Yeah,
he was trespassing.
100% guilty. He definitely should be. There should be some kind of punishment for doing that to make sure that people don't do that.
Well, wouldn't it be better if he did actually community service and help the community?
Yes, clean up. Go fucking clean up garbage
clean up.
somewhere.
Yeah, go clean up the mall.
Yeah.
Like do that for like 4 years. Every weekend you have to go to the mall, clean up broken glass. Fine.
The problem.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I think that clip is important because it does really show you guys how the moderate thinks about January 6th, right? And Joe Rogan's shocked towards the fact that, hey, the narrative that the mainstream liberal media put out there wasn't exactly true. His guest on the show, Michael Malice, describes himself as an anarchist, okay, or a libertarian, somebody who I would probably say is somewhat close to the middle as well, too. He's probably closer to the independent voter. He doesn't necessarily seem to be a big fan of the Republican Party or conservatives. I would say that, yeah, he probably represents an independent voter as well, too. And he was also shocked, which tells you exactly why the Democrats and Republicans are so upset about what Tucker is doing, because they know that it's going to sway the opinion of independents. They're going to see, oh, the mainstream liberal media lied to us, right? I mean, they should be saying that already. They should be able to see that the mainstream liberal media lies from the pandemic and all the things he said about the vaccine and, mask and, all this other stuff that the mainstream liberal media went and lied to us about. But if they can't see it with that, they should be able to clearly see it with this January 6th footage that was never shown. Okay, I mean, we had primetime January 6th hearings where they purposely left out video of the shaman getting towards through the Capitol by Capitol Police. Instead, they painted this narrative that this guy was some outraged Trump supporter that went into the Capitol to terrorize and commit acts of violence, right? That was gonna, kill Mike Pence. Right? That's what they said. This is the narrative that they painted, and that everybody that entered the Capitol was violent, and it was just terrible, insurrection. When what we saw that day was not even close to an insurrection, right? I mean, if you're going to call that an insurrection, the Democrats and their attack on the Capitol, when Brett Kavanaugh was being confirmed, the woke revolutionaries banging on the Capitol doors, right? Trying to get in, trying to stop his confirmation over, BS, Me Too allegations, right? And this idea that he's going to ban abortion, that too. Yeah, that was an insurrection then, right? Any protest at the Capitol or the Supreme Court is an insurrection if January 6th was an insurrection. Seriously. I mean, it really is at that point. But like I said, I mean, you can even hear Joe Rogan and Michael Malice, the way they describe it. Like, they clearly say, yeah, I mean, violence happened that day, right? And I don't think that the violence is something that anybody should condone. If you want to get people on your side, that is, right? But at the same time, it's important to tell the whole story and say, look, well, all of it wasn't violent. And you have people that are doing hard time, that are doing years in prison just simply for being let into the Capitol, right? They got a tour of the Capitol and were given hard time for that because it made the Democrats look good politically and made the Republicans / Trump look bad politically, right? This is simply for political reasons, not because of what he actually did. So how in the world is this guy getting hard time while the Capitol Police who gave him a tour are not, right? They're not charged with aiding and abetting, right? The alleged insurrection. They're not charged with anything. If anything, they should be punished as well too because they let it happen. They gave him a tour. In some cases, they let him in. Again, something's not right here. And again, what really bothers me is these people that claim that they stand up for justice, right? No justice, no peace. When you see an obvious injustice, when you see the justice system, the criminal justice system failing people, locking people up unjustly, okay? Where are you at? Oh, is it because they're white, right? Is that why? It's because they're Trump supporters? They don't deserve justice, right? They don't deserve fair treatment. All of a sudden, you don't fight on behalf of that anymore. That doesn't matter anymore. It's amazing how that works. It is. It really is amazing how that works. But again, the point of this video is that Joe Rogan does represent the independent voter. And his reaction is the exact reaction that the mainstream liberal media didn't want, which is shock and outrage over the fact that the mainstream liberal media lied to the American people about what happened that day. And this is just another blow to their credibility, right? They already don't really have any. But again, this is just another major blow because if Joe Rogan reacted like that, best believe there's a whole lot of independents in this country and moderates that are reacting the same way and saying, damn, I was lied to, right? They hoodwinked me, right? Bamboozled me, led me astray in regards to the narrative around January 6th. But I think it's deeper than that, right? And this is why you see both sides of the political aisle here, mainly the establishment, Republicans and Democrats, condemning this, is because maybe, just maybe, this was a setup, right? There's a reason why security was not as robust as it should have been that day. There's a reason why it seems like people were let in. There's a reason why the police officers was giving some of these people tours, right? There's a reason why things happened the way it happened that day. There's a reason why you have the Ray Epps of the world. You have people who clearly were trying to antagonize and push protesters to commit acts of violence, who, seem to, not really face any consequences for trying to antagonize the protesters to commit acts of violence. There's a reason why you're seeing this stuff. It's because it's deeper than that, right? It's the same thing with the pandemic. I tell you guys, the bombshell is not that COVID may have leaked from a lab in China. The bombshell is that taxpayers may have paid for it, right? That's the bombshell. With January 6th, the bombshell is not that people were peacefully walking around the Capitol and that they were let in and that they were given a tour. The bombshell is that, hey, this could have been done on purpose and set up by the powers that be, right? That is the bombshell here. And that is what I think that they really don't want people to find out. That is the conclusion that they don't want people to come to. And that is why they're so upset. That's why they're so mad about it, because they don't want people to figure out that, hey, this is a setup, right? This is a setup. So I'm just saying. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.